Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Wednesday, it's September 27th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And you can see here, looking at our daily chart, we traded much lower today. Um, but we found a bottom, it looks like, in reverse, or at least a temporary bottom in reversed, and traded up really strongly. But we're very oversold here. We're well below that brown line. So we're way oversold. We're way past a measured move. Lots of reasons to expect that we're going to get at least a temporary bounce here. So this was, I was a little more surprised that we were selling off as hard as we were early on. And sometimes those are capitulation days, and the last of the selling dries up, and then you rally from there. So we'll see what the rest of the week brings, but we've at least found a temporary low here for the day and bounced off of it. So um, let's flip over to the 2000 tick chart and you can see what it looks like. It was really bearish early on, um, and then we rallied real strongly. But let's take a look at that chart. And here we are. Here's a look at this 2000 tick chart. You can see we had this two-tiered channel working down. I originally had the line a little higher here, and I adjusted it like so. Um, I believe that to be the channel. I mean, that fits the midline a little. Well, I wouldn't even say it fits as good. Maybe this is even an overshoot. It does tend to fit there on the latter half of the channel, but we even went lower than that. So I think that's an overshoot. I think we were way oversold because if you draw your measured move, we didn't quite get to that. We did turn about a measured move up here, um, but it's just hard to say if you move the channel down here, it just doesn't really fit properly. I mean, maybe later in the day you were working off the midline, but prior to that, this just doesn't fit properly. So my thoughts are there is a bigger channel here, and we had a big overshoot. Um, this has moved on me off of this channel. And I think we maybe even had an overshoot on that channel. So that's how I played it, and that's how I saw it right there. But let's zoom in. We'll go through the trades. It was really hard to find a trade in here because it was just hard to know what prices were doing, and there's just no really good for sure setup. So we kind of had a little lull there, and then we reversed so hard. I mean, once you're going up through here, it's just too late to enter, and it's really on a day like this, it's suicide to try to pick a bottom down here. So even with the overshoots. So most of the trading was early, and it was kind of tough sledding after that. But we were in this trading range early on, and you can see the little trends working up and down through there. And we had one working up. 7 came. I'm trying to remember. I think 7 o'clock's right in here, and we bounced off this low, but there's no entry there. We turned down off the high, but that makes a new high there, and so wait on the lower high. You don't really get one until we come back here, and then you get a close outside, move to a new high, and we get that. Notice those 3-bar matching highs there. Hopefully you can see that. And we break higher by 1 tick and turn down. If it breaks below that, we're probably running back down here to at least test this low again. And we did break out slightly before, close lower, so there's a good chance we could keep going. You're just trying to play the scalp for the most part here, hoping you can scalp out between here and here. And it does go I wouldn't say quite a bit further, but it does go further. Um, so I like that trade. It's also a second entry short. First entry, second entry. You're not really looking for second entries in a range like that, but uh, it is what it is. There's actually a triple. You probably could argue that's a triple test, but notice we're making a little higher high each time, and the closes are getting higher. I mean, it turns out to be a trap there. It breaks higher and traps people, but I just don't think you can enter right there. Then we come down here. We're just chopping sideways in congestion. Runs up. We didn't quite get back to the trend line here. Plus, we're still in this green channel, so you need to wait on a lower high or something. And you just don't get that until, uh, yeah, that's a lower high, but it's not tradable. It's right into the EMA. Um, it's moved quite a bit, but we do bounce, come back. You do get a closeout side new high, and then you get a lower high right here, and that's a fairly bearish bar. I like going short below it. And then we come back over here and we turn down again. Notice you pretty much got two. This really doesn't look like a big move here. It looks more sideways than anything. You might even say, okay, it's a first entry, second entry, so you could treat it like a failure maybe. And it does look similar to two legs back. So maybe you take that trade based on the failure, or it's a really good signal bar right at the key entry point. So I marked it green, but you may take that trade. Drops down really fast, then we just kind of chop lower. Again, I don't think you want to look to buy anything. There's no break of this channel yet. So I don't think you want to be trying to buy anything in there. It runs up, then we're just chopping sideways. Just sit tight and wait and see what happens. I mean, this is really hard to know what's going on. We should be trying to go up here, but we never did really get back to the lows yet. So it's kind of hard to know, but eventually, notice the resistance we form across here. We try to go higher once, twice. There's 2 or 3 bars in there, and then another space, and we try to go again. You could easily call that a triple test. It looks a little congested, so I still marked it green, but this has been a strong downtrend. And it is also a first entry, second entry. So it's a second entry short, triple test. It looks congested though, so I marked it green. You're taking a little bit of risk by entering there. And then we drop on down. We actually bounce here. Then you try to go higher again. So you got a triple test right across there and this actually breaks higher and turns down. I don't think that I would go short here because you don't have room to get out, I don't think. Let me just measure it. You have just enough. I still don't know that I'd go short right there. But when it broke higher and turned down, I like entering that on the engulfing bar. Because of how many times we tested this up here. There's a good chance you're gonna at least retest this low here, and we could continue much lower because we were overdue to come down here. Notice we'd come off the highs up here, and we hadn't reached any lows yet. So at this point, I had the trend channel coming across here. So it didn't like we had that much further to go, and the odds were we'd probably go lower before we go higher, and we did. That's why we didn't end up going higher here, because the prices were really, there was some buying coming in, but it wasn't enough to turn the trend, and so we're headed back down to the lows. That turns out to be a really nice trade. And of course we do bounce down here, and I moved the trend line down here when we bounced, and there's a second entry long right there, but again, I don't think you want to be trying to buy anything even that far away from the EMA. Just let it trend back up, which it does, and you get a break here and a few legs up, and then finally it gives you a little tiny, I think it's like 3 ticks, yes, and 2 bar matching high. There's a whole bunch of resistance across there, and there's enough room to get out here. I like taking that trade. Again, you don't know this is going to take off like that. You're just trying to get a scalp out of it, but this is played out. So there's a good chance prices will at least come back to the EMA and maybe even go lower. And this turns out to be a heck of a move down. And then you bounce here and you get a 2 legs back. So that is a second entry short if it breaks below that bar. And you can also see the trend. You get a close outside, move to a new high. I like that setup. That's if we did just get an overshoot right here, it makes you think about this, but that's such a perfect setup that I just don't know. I mean, a second entry in a strong downtrend, first break of this strong sell off here, real tight channel. We're going to at least retest that. So I like going short there. Again, you don't know this is going to take off like this. You're just hoping to get your scalp out of it and make and retest the lows. This turns out to be a really nice move down. And of course, there's another channel here. You get to close outside a few moves to a new low, and then you bounce again. Again, I'm not looking to buy anything here. Even if that's an overshoot, I'm not buying right now. Notice the green channel, you get a close outside, a couple of legs back up, and it turns down. I'd run my trend line across there just in case. And you can see how well it would have fit if you draw it down here. And so we get that turn down. But prices will probably, you already had a break and a retest. So, but we came right off the midline there, and we've bounced the last couple of times. So it bounces again. That's the first break of this channel. It's clearly two legs up, but there's no decent signal bar. That actually looks like one leg up anyway. And notice prices do try to go higher again, and just turn down. There's no signal bar there that you can trade, and so you really just, there's no way to get in this trade safely following our rules, and the bottom just falls out. Of course, we do get a close outside here, and this is a double top with a nice signal bar. It looks a little like a second entry, but it's really not. Prices go up here, turn down, and then they turn back up and then turn down again. So your second entry is right there, and I don't think you want to enter there. And so then you get your close outside, and it comes back and tries to make a new high. It doesn't quite make one. It makes a 4-bar matching high, which is similar to what we saw back here on the other trade. So, I mean, it's really tempting to take that trade. I didn't mark it. I mean, you might mark it green because this thing's just been a huge sell-off. But as you can see, a few bars later, we make the low of the day, and then this thing rallies like crazy. And that's what you have to be afraid of here. If we've indeed had an overshoot, we're getting way into oversold territory, which the daily chart shows us we are. So I'm not going to mark that anything but green because honestly, I don't know if I'd take that in real time or not. So anyway, we bounce down here. I think we actually get an overshoot of this blue channel too, the darker blue one, and we start heading higher here. There's a second entry long here. It's tempting, but this thing is, hadn't proven that it's going to reverse yet, so you got to be careful counter trend trading. And see, it just still looks kind of weak across here. And then right here, about 1 o'clock, a little after 1 o'clock, it makes a new high and then just takes off. And it's all an afterthought from here because it's just straight up. But it was just really interesting how once prices finally reversed, they took off really strong. And I just don't see any way to get in this. I think it's too risky to buy down here. And once this thing starts moving, just no opportunity to get in it. It just keeps going. You get a break of this, move to a new high, and then suddenly it turns down. I did mark this one. There's a second entry here. Notice your new high is working down. You get a first entry right there. It turns on back down. And on this engulfing bar, you get a break higher. So there's a second entry long there. Maybe you take that. It's right. It looks like it's right on the trend line, so it would confirm it. But maybe you wait on the high or low. I marked that one green. Maybe you wait on the high or low here just to be safe. And, of course, we get one here, and it's only like 7 ticks. That's the better place to enter. And then notice we come back here again, and you get a second entry long. And it takes on off again from there. Now notice that this thing got just exactly 6 ticks, was just enough to get out. And that's why you got to be real. That's why we only scalp for 4. There's a reason we scalp for 4 ticks. Because we've proven these setups will consistently get those. And if you try to get anything, even 1 tick more there, you would have got stopped out only to see it turn around and go exactly where we thought it was going to begin with. So you have to be careful with that right there. I meant to mention that. But then it's also a first entry second entry. So when it breaks above that red bar, it's a failure, but it's also a first entry, second entry long. So that's the better place to enter, and you can see it takes off from there. This was just a higher low. It's usually better to wait on, but this has been so strong, you would think that a higher low right there would be a pretty good. Maybe it's moved a little bit too much, and there's only really one move back. So, but in real time, I really like that trade there. But here's your better entry, the second entry, which is also a failed second entry short, and it just takes off. That's a continuation pattern, and this thing just rockets off again. I don't see anything else. We're too far away from the EMA. There is a bounce right there, but there's not much room to those highs. I think it's a little risky. There's also a second entry right here, but it's just kind of in no man's land. It looks a little congested. I just don't see anything else there that would tempt me. And just like now that we're in this huge uptrend, you got to be careful. You really don't want to be trying to pick tops. So I don't think you can go short there. And then you get this moving down. You get a close outside new low without ever getting a chance to enter. Then you're moving up, close outside. It tries to make a new high, but it doesn't, and goes into 230. And we don't take any trades after that point. So you never really got a chance to go short or long from this point on. There just wasn't a whole lot of opportunity to get in this whole move. Right in here, there's a couple of chances. And really, that one I like that in real time. Again, it got the 6 ticks, but it didn't get a single tick more. So if your signal bar was slightly bigger than mine by a tick, maybe you didn't even get out. But anyway, that's how I saw it today. It looked like it was going to take the rally back, and then we rallied. Then we turned and went back up again. So we really, are unchanged. Maybe we closed up slightly from. We actually closed up very slightly from yesterday. So interesting day. It's 4:30 right now, so the market hadn't reopened yet. But really bearish and then really bullish. And this is what'll mess people up. They'll hold on and hold on and hold on and say, "Oh, now I'll give all my profits back. Let's hold on a little longer, see if it turns back down." And then you get this, and it gives you a little hope. Oh, it's gonna come back again, and then next thing you know, it's going higher and closes, and you end up having to close it out. And you either gave all your profits out, or you held on to this and blew your account or whatever. I mean, that's the kind of stuff I see over and over and over. And it's easy to do if you don't trade disciplined. Always don't be afraid to take that hit, because a small hit today is better than a blown account and no ability to trade tomorrow. You can come back from a small hit, but you can't come back from a blown account. And more people blow accounts that way on days like this because they get zoned in on the sell-off, or when it reverses, they get zoned in on the reversal. So just be careful. But and again, notice this is a measured move from the width of this, and this is a measured move down from a width. This one's up, this one's down. And notice how we didn't get down there. That's telling you if it takes off, it may be a little stronger, and then we kind of overshot it up here before it sold off. But anyway, we had some pretty good trades early on, but it got tough really from about 11 o'clock till 1 o'clock. It was really tough to find much. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. Hope you had a good trading day. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow and wrap up our week. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.